So this is the leftovers from when I cut out the legs. Nice big thick slab. It's about 2 1/4 or so. I'm going to plane off this outside edge of the white oak and get it down to 2 inches. And then I'll joint one side of it here, and then I cut the other side on the table saw. I didn't video that part. But suffice it to say, we end up 8 inches wide, and I want 12 inches at the top end, so I cut a couple of 2-inch blocks out of another piece, and I'm going to glue those onto what will become the top end of the chop for the vise. So while that's drying, I'm going to get started on the screw here. This was a jack for like you would put in a basement to hold up the floor above it. There's the nut. The nut's got those tabs on it so you can stick a bar in it and turn it to increase the pressure. And I don't need the tabs, so I'll cut those off. That gives me a nice rectangular part on there. Then I need to make a hub, and this is the first of 3 hubs that I will end up making because I couldn't seem to get them glued straight on the screw, or epoxy anyway. So, but this one was made out of locust, and it's a shame because I'd been saving that piece for, you know, a nice project, because locust is a very pretty wood, and I ended up cutting it off of the screw and destroying it because it was no good. But I have plenty of other wood, so, and there was a big chunk left over in this that I can use for something else later on. But at least you'll get the idea of what the process of making the hub was, even though this particular one didn't work out. And that washer you saw me off there is I cut that in half and use it as the keeper to keep the hub in the chop. I don't know what kind of metal that washer was made of, but I had to stop and sharpen the drill bit 4 times for every hole that I drilled in it. And they were just 1/4-inch holes. It was ridiculously hard. Yeah, so I put the 2-inch jaws on, and they wouldn't expand far enough. And then when I put the 4-inch jaws on, they, even all the way closed, were too big. So I put these little 1/8-inch blocks in there, and as I crunched it down, they curved to the shape of the piece and centered it up nicely, and away we went. There are solutions for everything on the lathe. I drilled the hole about 2 inches deep. Made sure it was going to fit. And by that time, the glue had all set up on this thing, and I measured down to where the hole was going to be. And you saw the wheel there. I got the video out of order here, but I'll make that here in a minute. Even though it's already made in the video. So I cut my shape out, and I kept the bottom end of it the same width as the leg for about the first 10 inches or so. Because at first I was thinking I was going to put something going past the leg to hold the bottom. Then I came up with something else, so I didn't end up doing that, but it's still already that width, so no biggie. I got that hole drilled, and I clamped it up there as a guide to get the hole started in the leg, and then drilled as deep as I could with a Forstner bit, and then put a 1/4 inch paddle bit in until the tip just broke through the backside. And then I used a 2 1/8 inch Forstner bit. And I don't know if you've ever used a Forstner bit that big with a hand drill, but it's kind of a dangerous thing to do. And then I started chiseling out to put the nut up there. But my chisel was too long, and it was really hard to do, so we made the hole deeper with the Fabricating, what do they call that thing? On here, it's a, yeah. I had it written down. I don't know where I put it. Mini turbo plate. Anyway, then I cut out a mortise from the flange on the nut, and I used a shorter chisel to get in there, and it still was kind of a bugger to do. But after fighting with it for a little bit, I got it all out of there, and the nut sits flush to the leg. I just didn't want the nut sticking out there underneath. Don't ask me why. It just seemed like a way to do it. I drilled a couple of holes in the flange, and then here in a second I'll stick it up there and screw it in place. There we go. Then I went ahead and took my piece of locust and glued it onto the screw, and like I said, it didn't work out so well. I just used 5-minute epoxy, so it wasn't like it was super strong stuff. Strong enough, but hadn't worked. But easy enough to chip back off of there. So, in the meantime, I had to make the stuff for the bottom guide. Now, this is going to be a cam to operate the. Well, I'm using a pipe clamp. The dead man off the pipe clamp, and then I'm going to run the pipe through the leg and into the chop, and it's going to slide in and out on there. The cam releases the little metal bits on the dead man to actually release the pipe so that it can move back in when you want. But it moves in and out freely with the cam engaged, and when you disengage it, it moves out, but it will not move in. It works out perfect. So there I offset it in the jaw and cut around the outside edge here, and that gives me a 1/2 inch depth cam. And then I made a little handle for it, because this thing's going to be foot operated. It was the whole idea is that I wouldn't have to bend down there and put a pin into a bar and all that stuff. And it works out actually quite well. So I made the handle out of a little piece of hedge that I had laying around, Osage orange. Put a 5/8 tenon on one end, and then when it came time to put the handle on the cam, which I waited until I actually had the cam mounted so I would know where the handle needed to be on the outside. And then this is going to hold the dead man for the pipe clamp. Now to drill a hole as deep as I could in this block, and then used it to mark the leg, and then drilled that through. Well, did a drill from one side to back from the other, of course. And I didn't quite get this straight, so I actually had to take and angle the Forstner bit up inside there and kind of chew away the inside of the hole. So it's still the right size on both ends, but inside it's different. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, I expanded the inside of the hole so it's not rubbing on anything in there. just on the outside two edges. The outside holes were in the right place, the inside didn't line up perfect. So anyway, there you get the idea how it's going to work. Cable mounts to the leg there, and then we'll push on the release tabs on the deadband. I was going to hold it down with those real long screws, but I didn't like the way it was affecting the maple down below it there on the rudder, so I just used regular banking screws and screwed it to the rudder. That seemed to work out just fine. Here's where I'm actually having to expand the inside of the hole. Get it all up there, screw it down. Turn the cam loose, release the cam, and it locks. It's great. So then I figured out where my handle's going to be and glued that in. That can all be operated from above. And here's the wheel that becomes the handle, which you saw briefly there in the earlier scene. So I'm making it after I was using it to mark the hole in the chop. But this project took me, this part of the project took me about 3 days. So I kind of lost track of what I did when. So I put the video together wrong, but all the parts are here, so that's what matters. When I first put that faceplate on, I used the inner holes on it. It's 2 sets of holes, and the tenon or the mortise I'm cutting here on the front side or on the back side of it here is actually expanded across those holes. So I was going to hit the screws. So I took them out and put them into the outside holes, and then cut this. And when I got done, I realized I hadn't even gotten far enough through to touch the screws, so it would have been no big deal, but better safe than sorry. I really hate it when my chisel hits a piece of metal. If you've been watching my channel long, you know I do that. Or I have done it. So that thing fit tight too, it was perfect. A little too perfect, that's why I got in there and kind of pieced it out a little bit. So then we'll take the faceplate off and put the 4-jaw chuck up there with 2-inch jaws and use them in expansion mode into that tenon, or into that mortise, excuse me. And turn the other side of the wheel, which will be the outside. So true up the face here. And then I added like a little shallow cove on each side to kind of give it more of a wheel look. I actually thought about marking it out and drilling holes around it to give it like a spokes kind of type of look, but decided not to. Make it look more like a ship's wheel. So that first groove I put in is actually a mark from where my screws will go into the hub. It's screwed onto the hub. The reason I have to do it this way is because I've got that metal washer that holds the hub into the chop. And unfortunately, you don't get to see this whole part of making the handles because the battery died. So I get about that far and then whoops. So switched out the battery though and went on putting the handles onto the piece. So you'll at least get to see the handles. It didn't take long, they're pretty small. Only got 4 inches long overall.
So this has turned into a really long day. A lot of small problems that I had to overcome. First thing was, well, not the first thing, but one of the many things, when I put that hub onto this up here on the table, it didn't go on straight, and so it's not going to work, and I had to split it off of here. And then actually it turns out to be a good thing, because the screw was too long, and I'd rather cut this end that I've already cut because it's hard to thread it through the nut than to cut this end back here. So that was all right. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. So I made a new one. This one is made out of redbud, of all things, but I think this makes 7 different types of wood in the bench now. So we're about ready to put that on. This down here seems to function quite nicely. It slides real easy. That was another one though. I had to waller out the inside of this hole to get it to line up well enough to do this. But when you flick that up, it ain't going nowhere, but it'll still slide out. So that worked. Kind of happy about that one. So then I had to set this up there, and I drilled a hole here that this threads into. I'm not going to epoxy it just yet. I want to make sure everything's going to function properly before I do that, so that's something I can like run this thing out and unscrew that, put epoxy on it, stick it back in, and it's done then. But I just want to be sure, you know. So I'll just put that on there, and then get around the other side. Threads right up there. I don't really think I'll need to epoxy it, but you know. So now, push that on up there. That's where that has got to go. Now I just need to epoxy it without getting epoxy back into here and slobbering out onto here and sticking to the chop. That'd be nice. Alright, let's get to it.
So as it turned out, the redbud hub did not work either. When I epoxied it on here, apparently it just didn't get straight in there. So, and what ends up happening is the part that goes into the chop there ends up rubbing, and it binds up enough that it's really hard to move. So I cut another one out of pecan this time, and this time I drilled a hole in the block and rounded it off, but way bigger than it needed to be, and then set the screw in the 4-jaw chuck and lined it up so that the screw was running straight and true to the bed of the lathe, and then turned the block, even though it was offset and wobbling at that point. Once I turned it, it was true to the screw because the screw was true to the lathe. So that ended up working. So then all I had to do was bevel the top of my chop here so that if I ever decide to do hand cut dovetails, then I can do them in the vise and get my saw at the proper angle and whatnot. And then I leveled off the top to the top of the bench and put leather on the faces of the jaw and the edge of the table and glued it up. And while I was waiting for that glue to dry, I swept up my mess there and got ready to put a finish on the vise. So got in there and did that. I guess I did a little bit of sanding in there too, touch up stuff. Still love the way this white oak looks when you get the boiled linseed oil on it. So it works well. It does have its issues, but I think they're issues that I can live with, considering I don't use a vise all that much. Of course, I never had a vise like this, so I may end up using it a lot more than what I thought I would. But
well, there it is. And here is a nice little glued up panel of maple. And we'll find out This is like going down past the screw. Well, the jaw's getting cockeyed. They should do that on the side where there's something to support it. Well, it wiggles out here, but where the jaw is solid. Moving the whole table. Let's get you over a bit. There we go. Let's try to just hold it up here. I was having some problems with it sliding around in there until I put the leather in. So now I understand why the leather's there. It's more than just not scratching the board. It's to give the jaws grip. What would probably help. I don't know if you noticed how I did the bottom, but when I flick that little lever, the bottom can't go in. And now it grabs solid. So there you have it. The first vise is done. I'm actually going to take a break from the table, or from the workbench here, and do another video before I do the video for the other vise. So I'll be seeing you hopefully a little less than a week, but we'll see how that works out. Big news coming up. I got to get more details on it before I can announce it, but it's really big, so it should be fun. And I'm going to take you guys through the whole process if that goes through. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I've had a lot of new subscribers, and I'm assuming that it's because of this project, but there's more like it coming up. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Have a good one, guys.
I'm encroaching on 3,000 subscribers, so I am going to be doing a giveaway with the next video. So be sure to subscribe, because you can't enter the drawing for the prize unless you're subscribed. But that's coming up, hopefully within the week. We'll see when I hit 3,000. All right, have a good one. Bye.